To the world, he was my loving brother. To me, he was my safe place. Until I learned I was just a pawn in his game. But then, I became the checkmate he never saw coming. You see, when people talk about the word brother, they often think of protection, loyalty, and unconditional love. That's exactly what Arav was to me, my elder brother, my protector, my anchor in every storm. I still remember how he'd walk me to school when I was little, how he'd stand between me and our drunken father, shielding me from the blows that should have been his. He taught me how to ride a bike, how to lie when mom's depression got too heavy, and how to hold my breath underwater so long I almost forgot what it meant to breathe freely. To the world, he was this perfect man, handsome, smart, the golden boy with an infectious smile and a heart that seemed to beat for everyone. People adored him. Girls crushed on him. Teachers praised him. Even strangers smiled back at him, unaware of the poison he could hide behind his warmth. But to me, he was home. He was safety. He was the only person I believed would never hurt me. Even when we were both adults, we were still each other's world, or so I thought. Arav helped me get into college, encouraged my art, pushed me to believe I was worth something even when the mirror told me otherwise. When I got my first heartbreak, it was Arav who sat beside me for hours, letting me cry against his shoulder without a word of judgment. And when our parents died in a car crash, it was Arav who held me through the screaming silence, who planned the funeral, who signed the papers, who said, "It's just you and me now, Sia." Always. God, how I clung to those words. Because I needed them. I needed him. The world outside was cruel, ruthless. I was too soft, too trusting, too broken from everything life had taken. But Arav? He was my shield. The person I would have walked through fire for. Which is why what came next shattered me far more than any fire ever could. It started small. Missed calls. Strange late-night conversations I wasn't meant to hear. Money disappearing from the account we shared. Arav brushing it off, saying, "Don't worry, Sia. I've got this. Just focus on your finals." I trusted him. Because why wouldn't I? He was my brother. My blood. But then I got the call. From an unknown number. A woman, breathless, panicked. "Are you Sia? Arav's sister?" "Yes," I said. "You need to be careful. He's not who you think he is. He's lying to you. He's been using you." The line went dead. I tried calling back. Nothing. Blocked. I told myself it was a prank. A mistake. Someone playing games. But that night, I saw him. Arav. Arguing with a man in a black car outside our apartment. Yelling. Money changing hands. And I saw his face, cold, cruel, unrecognizable. I confronted him. He laughed. Hugged me. Brushed it off. "You're watching too many crime shows, Sia. Relax." But something had shifted. My hand started shaking every time he smiled. I began to doubt everything. Then I found it. A drawer I'd never opened before. Hidden beneath old tax files. A folder. Documents. Bank statements. IDs. Names I didn't recognize. My name used in places I'd never been. Loans taken. Fake signatures. A whole web of lies spun right under my nose. And in the center of it all, Arav. My brother. My safe place. Using my identity. Draining my future. Selling my name like it was merchandise in his empire of fraud. And that was when it hit me. I wasn't his sister. I was his pawn. A shield to protect him from suspicion. A puppet dancing while he pulled the strings. He didn't love me. He used me. And he did it so well, so carefully, so coldly, that I had no idea I was bleeding. Until I was already drowning. But he made one mistake. He thought I was weak. He thought I'd break. He thought I'd stay silent. Loyal, like always. But what he didn't know was, I don't shatter. I sharpen. They say betrayal doesn't destroy you all at once. It comes in waves. And as I stood there holding those documents, fake accounts in my name, money I never touched, debts I never made, every wave crashed harder than the last. I wanted to scream, to confront him, to throw it all in his face and ask the one question clawing at my insides. Why? But something inside me whispered, wait, because suddenly I understood. This wasn't just betrayal. This was calculated. This was orchestrated. And if I exploded now, I'd lose my chance to burn him from the inside out. So, I played along. I smiled at breakfast, laughed at his jokes, asked him if he wanted chai like nothing had changed. Like I wasn't waking up every morning with fire in my veins and vengeance growing in my bones. But when he left, I started digging. First, I checked the emails linked to the fake accounts. Most were already scrubbed clean. But I found one, a burner inbox still logged in on his laptop full of transactions, names, even threats from other criminals he worked with. I screenshotted everything, backed it up twice, sent it to an encrypted cloud server I created under a new identity. Then I went deeper. Old contacts. Friends he hadn't seen in years. Clients he swindled. I posed as interested buyers, victims, debt collectors. I gathered more than dirt. I gathered firewood. And while he smiled like the devoted big brother, making dinner, watching movies with me, asking how I was sleeping, he didn't know he was sitting on a minefield. I even found her. The woman who'd called me. Her name was Maya. She used to work with Araf, helped him launder money, until she realized he was planning to frame her for a scam she didn't even know about. He's charming, she said, but deadly. He doesn't leave loose ends. You're lucky he hasn't buried you yet. I asked her why she warned me. She looked me dead in the eye and said, because I was once like you. I believed him. And I lost everything. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on my bed, staring at the manila folder I had tucked under my mattress, proof of everything. Every lie. Every theft. Every piece of my life he stole. I thought about the little girl who worshipped her big brother. The teenager who cried on his shoulder. The woman who believed he'd walk through fire for her. She was gone. He killed her. And now? I was going to kill what he valued most. His power. His control. His reputation. But I couldn't just expose him. That would be too easy. No. He had to feel it. Feel the walls closing in. Feel the cold air of suspicion. Feel the way it stings when trust turns to poison. So, I started small. A bank call about suspicious activity. A private investigator, posing as a loan officer, contacting him during work hours. A confidential email from an anonymous source sent to his business partner, hinting at fraud. His confidence began to crack. I watched him pace the living room more often. Lose sleep. Start snapping at people. Start watching me, his once loyal sister, with suspicion. It was beautiful. Because for the first time, Araf couldn't control the game. And the best part? He didn't even know the enemy he was searching for was me. Araf always had this thing about him, this unshakable calm. Even in chaos, he moved like a man above consequence. Like no storm could touch him. But now, the cracks were showing. And I was the one chiseling. He started locking his door at night. Something he never used to do. He kept his phone closer, glancing at it every few minutes like he expected it to explode. His laughter sounded forced. His eyes darted at shadows. And the best part? He still didn't suspect me. Because to him, I was just a little sister. Broken. Loyal. Naive. The girl who wouldn't even dare raise her voice, let alone raise a war. But I wasn't that girl anymore. The more he spiraled, the more I smiled. I leaked copies of his fake identity documents to one of his own clients, an impatient, dangerous man named Junaid, who had invested a large sum in a fake property deal Araf cooked up. Within hours, Araf's phone started ringing nonstop. I watched him lie, deflect, sweat, and I watched as he deleted files from his computer, trying to cover his tracks. I had already downloaded all of them. Every single one. I had enough evidence to bury him under 6 feet of legal hell. But law wasn't what I was after. Fear was. I wanted him to feel helpless. Paranoid. Exactly the way I had felt when I realized the one person I trusted most was my greatest threat. One night, I walked into the kitchen and found him sitting alone, drinking. Unusual for him. He looked up at me, eyes bloodshot. "You ever feel like someone's watching you, Sia?" I tilted my head, feigning innocence. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," he muttered, swirling his glass. Something feels off. People are turning cold. Business is shaky. And I keep getting these weird messages." I sat across from him, looked into the face that once gave me comfort. Now, all I saw was a stranger who wore my brother's skin. "Maybe you're just tired," I said softly. "Or maybe it's guilt." He flinched. Just for a second. But I saw it. And in that flicker, I knew. He remembered who I was. He just hadn't figured out what I'd become. I kept planting seeds. A fake message from an investigator warning about an open case. A visit from someone posing as a journalist interested in his company. An anonymous gift, a chess piece, a queen, with a note that said, "The game always ends with checkmate." He started skipping meetings. Stopped answering calls. Even Maya told me he tried to transfer his accounts overseas. Too late. I had already frozen most of them using the stolen identities he created under my name. It was poetic. He used my name to build his empire. Now I was using his empire to crush his name. Then came the final push. I printed out a curated file, just enough evidence to terrify but not enough to accuse, and mailed it anonymously to his business partner, his lawyer, and his new girlfriend. He never saw it coming. Within 48 hours, his office was under review. His girlfriend blocked him. His partner demanded a full audit. And Araf? He looked like a king watching his castle collapse one stone at a time. But he still didn't know who was doing this. And he didn't know the worst was yet to come. Because fear was just foreplay. Destruction was next. The house got quieter after that. Araf stopped playing music in the mornings. Stopped whistling as he cooked. Stopped calling me Sibir, like he always did. It was like the color drained out of him. And I was the one holding the brush. I watched him unravel, one thread at a time. And the more he crumbled, the more I remembered every time he smiled at me while lying. Every time he hugged me after stealing. Every time he said, "I'll protect you," while ruining me from the inside. But it still wasn't enough. Fear was just the beginning. Humiliation was next. That's when I called Maya again. She was hesitant at first. Scarred. Still healing. But I told her the truth. I wasn't just another girl he used. I was his sister. And I was done letting monsters walk free. We made a plan. I gave her the full evidence, every paper, password, signature. She'd release it anonymously through a whistleblower channel. She'd contact the people Araf had hurt, clients, officials, old partners who were burned and silent out of fear. One spark was all it would take. And Araf had soaked his entire life in gasoline. The next morning, I walked into the living room and found him staring at the TV. The news anchor's voice was sharp, relentless. Multiple shell companies linked to local businessman Araf Kapoor are now under investigation for tax fraud, identity theft, and large-scale financial manipulation. Sources say an anonymous whistleblower submitted a detailed report with verified evidence. His face went white. His jaw clenched. He looked like he'd been stabbed. But it wasn't a knife. It was truth. And I was the one who handed it to the world. He stood up suddenly and turned to me, wild-eyed. "You heard any of this?" he asked. I nodded. "It's all over." He ran his hands through his hair. They're lying. Someone's framing me. This is a setup. I tilted my head. Really? Even the bank account's in my name? He froze. And in that moment, he knew. It was me. His little sister. The one he thought was too soft. Too stupid. Too small. The silence between us stretched like wire ready to snap. You don't understand, he finally said. I did what I had to do. For us. I laughed. Bitter. Cole, you did it for yourself. And you used me to do it. His mask shattered. Don't you dare act like you're innocent, he snapped. You lived in this house. Ate from my plate. Slept under the roof I paid for. You needed me. No, I whispered. You needed me. You needed someone stupid enough to trust you while you destroyed her. He lunged toward me. But I was ready. Go ahead, I said. Hit me. Add assault to the list. Because guess what, big brother? They're already watching. I looked up at the security camera in the corner of the room, the one I installed 2 weeks ago just in case. Red light blinking. Recording. He stopped. Like the strings had been cut from his limbs. He looked old, small, powerless. And I didn't feel sorry. Not even a little. You were supposed to be my safe place, I whispered. And you turned me into your cover story. He stared at me, broken. Why, Sia? I stepped closer. Because you thought you were the king on the board. But you forgot, the queen moves in all directions. After that night, something changed in him. He stopped trying to hide. Not because he was ready to confess, but because he knew he'd lost control. And for a man like Araf Kapoor, losing control was worse than prison. Worse than shame. Worse than death. He stopped talking to me altogether. He paced through the house like a caged animal. Every time his phone rang, he jumped. Every knock on the door made him flinch. His empire was falling. And I was the one pulling the bricks. The media storm didn't stop. Every day, another headline. Business mogul's fraud web unravels. Kapoor family faces financial scandal. Anonymous source leaks years of criminal evidence. He tried denying it at first. Held a press conference with trembling hands and bloodshot eyes. But the world wasn't listening anymore. Because no one defends a man when the masks start falling and the faces underneath are monsters. I wasn't done yet. You see, pain like mine doesn't just want justice. It wants balance. So, I went back to the one place I swore I'd never return to, our old family home. The one he sold to fund his businesses. The one that held every memory of our childhood. The one he erased like it meant nothing. I went there because I knew he'd followed the paper trail, kept part of the deed in his personal vault. I found it. And I bought the house back. The same night I got the keys, I sent him a photo. It was of me, standing in front of the old house, holding the title deed with a little message scribbled across it. You took everything that made me feel safe. So now, I've taken what made you untouchable. He didn't respond. Not in words, anyway. But 2 hours later, a neighbor said they saw him drive to the edge of the city and sit alone in his car. For 3 hours. No calls. No movement. Just him. Finally alone with what he'd become. He tried to recover after that. Hired a new lawyer. Sold one of his properties. Tried to spin the story in the media, called me an ungrateful, mentally unstable sibling. That was his mistake. Because the world already knew the truth. And now? So did his enemies. Junaid, remember him? The dangerous investor he swindled? He resurfaced. And he wasn't after money anymore. He was after answers. I met Junaid in secret. Told him everything. Gave him what Araf feared the most, his weakness. Passwords. Blackmail folders. Hidden accounts he'd lied about even to his own partners. I watched Junaid's eyes narrow as he scrolled through the files. You did all this alone? He asked. I smiled. No, I said. He did it. I just showed the world who he really was. Araf's circle closed in after that. The people who once called him boss started looking at him like prey. Even Maya, strong, silent Maya, texted me one night. He's being hunted. By his past. By his greed. And by his own kind. But me? I was calm. Because I didn't want to kill him. I wanted him to wake up every day in the ruins of the life he stole. To walk through the ashes of a kingdom built on my pain. And the final blow? I leaked a voice recording. The one he forgot he made. Boasting about how easily he used his sister as a cover. How he manipulated her trauma to gain sympathy, to get loans, to build trust with investors. It aired during a primetime special. The world didn't just turn its back on him. It spit on the ground he walked on. He tried calling me that night. 7 missed calls. I didn't answer. Because now, he was just a shadow. And I was the storm that erased him. It was almost poetic. The man who once controlled every room he walked into was now invisible in his own life. No more news interviews. No more business meetings. No more fake smiles hiding behind tailored suits. Just silence. Just shame. Just Araf Kapoor, exposed. And I made sure that every door he once opened with charm and lies now slammed shut in his face. He tried to pivot. Started pitching new ventures online. Fake motivational reels. Playing the part of the misunderstood genius who'd been wronged. But the comments were brutal. Didn't you steal from your own sister? You're a scam artist, not a survivor. Real men don't destroy the ones who love them. And with every comment, I felt something I never thought I would again. Peace. Not because he was hurting, but because he could no longer hurt me. Then came the night I visited him one last time. Yes, I went. Not because I missed him, but because I wanted him to look me in the eye and see exactly what he lost. I showed up unannounced. He opened the door slowly, gaunt and hollow, like a ghost had moved into his bones. Sia, he whispered, like he wasn't sure if I was real. I stepped inside. Quiet, calm, composed. He looked around nervously, like the walls were listening. I don't have much time, he said. They're watching me, following me. Good, I replied. He blinked. You don't care if something happens to me? I tilted my head. Did you care when you used my name to steal? When you watched me fall apart and just walked away? He looked away. Because even monsters hate mirrors. I didn't mean for it to go that far, he mumbled. I laughed. Cold. You didn't mean for you to get caught. Silence. I loved you, Sia, he said finally. In my own way. I stared at him. Hard. No, Araf, you used me. You didn't love me. Love doesn't destroy. Love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't sell someone's soul for a loan. He sat down, defeated. Is this your revenge? He asked. Watching me drown? I stepped closer. No. My revenge was surviving. He looked up. I smiled. My revenge was making sure every lie you told got stripped bare. That every time you look in the mirror, all you see is the man who lost everything, not because someone took it from you, but because you gambled with someone who would have died for you. He opened his mouth to respond, but I was already walking away. At the door, I turned back. I hope you live a long, long life, Arav. Why? So you can feel every second of the emptiness you left behind. That night, I went home and burned the last photo I had of us together. The one where we were kids, him holding my hand, me smiling like he was my whole world. Because he was, once. And now, he was just a lesson I'd never forget. The days passed. Quiet. Still. And every second, I felt lighter. The world forgot him fast. No one wants to remember a fallen idol, especially one built on lies. His old business partners turned their backs. The government froze his accounts. The media moved on, newer scandals, fresher faces. But I didn't need headlines anymore, because my victory wasn't public. It was personal. I started to live again. Small things at first. Sleeping through the night without nightmares. Making tea without shaking hands. Looking in the mirror and seeing me, not his shadow. Maya and I stayed in touch. She started therapy, went back to school. She was healing too, in her own way, in her own time. And I started writing. Telling my story, not with rage, but with truth. Because sometimes, surviving isn't just about escaping the fire, it's about learning how to build something from the ashes. Then one day, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. The handwriting was familiar. Tight. Shaky. It was from him. See it. I see your face in every reflection. Not the sister who smiled at me, but the judge who sentenced me without touching a courtroom. You took everything. And still, I can't hate you. Do you ever think about how close we were? How easily this could have gone differently? I don't know who I am without you. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just needed to know if I ever mattered at all. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. Because his words were still dipped in manipulation. Still full of him. Even in defeat, he wanted control. He wanted my answer to his pain. But this time, I owed him nothing. I burned the letter without reading it again. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty. Not because I didn't care, but because caring had almost killed me once. And I wasn't going back. I moved into the old family house. Renovated it, room by room. Turned the place of my pain into a sanctuary. Hung photos of my mother on the walls. Lit candles in the corners she used to love. Painted over every ghost he left behind. Until it became mine again. Not ours. Mine. Then came the final thread to cut. I visited the courtroom quietly, on a day his final appeal was dismissed. He wasn't there. Didn't even show up for his own verdict. They said he'd fled the country. No trail. No trace. But I didn't need to see him to know how the story ended. Because his punishment wasn't jail. It was being forgotten. It was knowing I'd survived without him. And that the world kept spinning, even after he fell. And as I walked out of that courtroom into the sunlight, I knew. He thought I was a pawn. He made me bleed for his game. But I became the queen he never saw coming. The one who ended it all. With truth. With fire. With silence. Months passed. I didn't hear his name anymore. He became a ghost in the city we once called home. No more headlines. No more whispers. No more legacy. And for a long time, I thought that was the end. But real endings don't come with silence. They come with a door you thought you'd closed, suddenly creaking open again. It happened on a rainy evening. I was sipping tea, staring at the storm outside, when an envelope slid under my door. No stamp. No name. Inside, a photo. One I hadn't seen before. Me, maybe 9 years old, smiling in the park. Arav sitting behind me on the bench, looking away from the camera. Behind the photo was a note. Not everything I did was a lie. But I understand now that even the truth can be used to hurt. No name. But I knew. It was his handwriting. He wasn't gone. He was watching. I should have been afraid. But I wasn't. Because fear no longer ruled me. I had taken back every piece of myself he tried to break. And now, I understood something deeper. Revenge doesn't end with your enemy's fall. It ends when you rise so high. They can no longer reach you. So I wrote him back. Not to comfort him, but to finish it. I left the letter in the same spot. No envelope. Just words. You said not everything you did was a lie. Maybe that's true. But here's my truth. I gave you every part of me, my loyalty, my heart, my trust. And you used it to climb higher. You didn't just break me. You chose to. So no, you didn't lose me by accident. You gambled with my soul, and now you live with the consequences. You want to know if you ever mattered? You did, until the moment you made me stop mattering to you. So here's your answer. I'm not your pawn. I'm not your victim. I'm the checkmate you never saw coming. That was the last I heard of him. No more letters. No more photos. No more shadows on my doorstep. It was over. For real. And now? I speak. I write. I help others who've been broken by those they trusted most. Not because I want them to take revenge, but because I want them to know you don't need to become cruel to win. You just need to stop letting cruelty define you. To the world, he was my loving brother. To me, he was my safe place. Until I saw the truth. He made me a pawn in his game. But I learned how to play. And in the end, I became the checkmate he never saw coming.